Hi, this is Steve Matley. Welcome to Real Men of Real Estate. We are sheltering in place just like we're supposed to, so we can't get to the studio, but we're coming to you anyways. I'm joined by Brian Fox and Tunde Ogunwole, the other Real Men of Real Estate, and we're going to go ahead and talk about some of the issues that are going on right now and address some of this uncertainty that's out there. One thing we want to talk about today is where that real estate market is going. There's a lot of rumor and speculation, and Brian, you're at the forefront of this because you are a real estate broker in Orange County. So tell us what your take is on where we are and where we're going with this.
Yeah, much appreciated. It's coming up a lot in conversation, has been for a while, as to us being in a really high market, and it's higher than it's ever been. So it's verged for a crash. And people think this idea of being high and low has everything to do with just being high or low. And they have no idea that this has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with just simple economics. Right now, what's going on is the stock market has gotten hit really hard. Well, the stock market hit really hard and has gone way down simply because there is a lot of fear over if people will be able to work, will companies stay in business? So, of course, investors sell off their shares because they don't want to ride the train downward, so they will stop. As such, this means that people have a lot of insecurity regarding unemployment. Unemployment numbers are going to go up. That's the way it is. And we have no potential cure for this virus as of yet. That doesn't mean we won't have one. It means we haven't yet. So as a corollary, people are asking, what is the future of real estate? Well, I want to give you my 2 cents on what's going to happen and what I think is probably a good predictable thing to look forward to. So will we see a downturn in real estate? That completely depends on the person selling the property. And a national average, they might record some downturn. However, depends on what you're selling, how you're selling it, and how you're preparing that property. Some people do sell property so there's different kinds of property. There's this fixer-upper property that's original 1920s build, old property that someone's going to buy and renovate. Well, that is one kind of asset class. There's a property that is completely renovated and ready to go. It's a completely different kind of asset class. There's multi-unit investment properties that are a different kind of asset class, and all of them have a different kind of buyer. So the reality is, when you take a national average, you're lumping all the properties that are available for purchase together and saying, based upon everything I know, this is what the percentage downturn was. When the reality is, we might be seeing most of that from one particular asset class in one particular area, and it's not reminiscent of the entire market or every single neighborhood. Every neighborhood has its own individual economics. Malibu, Miami, New York City, Chicago, Dallas, Texas, everyone has a different set of economics that they will end up having to live by based upon the consumers that live there, the people who are buying and selling. So when it comes to my prediction as to what's going to happen in the residential real estate market, even the multi-unit 4-unit less market, what I think is going to probably happen is we're going to have a small pause. And that pause is going to be the segment of time in which we are, as a economy, trying to figure out what actually is about to happen. And by what I mean by that is there certainty coming? Do we know that there is something coming? That something coming being a solution? Do we have a plan? Do we have a cure? What is about to happen? Now, when it comes to this stuff, people don't know what that is. So every day the stock market will fluctuate between $3 a share after it's dropped 50%, because if the news comes out with one thing that says we have no idea what's about to happen and get ready for a wild ride, it's going to be horrible, stocks will drop. And then the next day say, well, good news, we have a couple drugs, actually, they're already on the market. They actually work now, but we had no idea they were even in play. But now, yeah, you can get them, and doctors are totally cool to subscribe them. They will go up, and they'll go up by the equal amount. And so the thing is that this whole uncertainty play is happening in the residential real estate market, where I think for the next 30 days, you're going to see almost a pause in the entire market where not much is going to move. And then after that point, people start contracting again. However, they'll be looking at the best possible properties selling for the best possible dollar in that basic economy, all subject to what the certainty or uncertainty is of this coronavirus. So the point is that I think that ultimately what's going to happen is we will have about a year, maybe 8 months to a year total, into where this thing kind of gets back to normal. I think that a lot of the jobless claims, a lot of the unemployment claims that we're going to have are going to be tied to the industries people probably think they will. They'll be tied to travel. They'll be tied to hospitality. They will try to a lot of industries that have no choice but to not work. I think that ultimately what people are thinking is that this economy is going to be very much like 2007. And the reality is you have to look at what I call tainted goods. right? So in 2007, tainted goods was banking and real estate. Everything was real estate. Everyone was investing in real estate. All of our money was in real estate. And as soon as that market crashed, because of real estate, because of banking, because of financing, that was all tainted goods. Right now, we're not tainted goods in any way, shape, or form. We are what everybody wants to buy. They want to be involved in real estate. The banking system is completely secure at this point. Rates are at an all-time low. There's tons of opportunity. You can get in at any level now the way you could a month ago, and there's no difference.
So Brian, let's talk a little bit about that, because you touched on a couple good points. I agree with you. I think right now there's going to be a pause for the next 15, 30 days or so. People are going to pause and circle the wagons, figure out what's going on with COVID-19, coronavirus. I've seen myself that some of the employers who are building up and trying to hire more, they've hesitated. And these are Fortune 500 firms. And we talked in another episode about small businesses contracting and some people even laying off. So I agree with you. The next 30 days or so, or 45, or as people are trying to get their arms around it, they're expecting a pause. One thing that we do know, everybody needs a place to live, right? So you're either going to stay where you're at, or you might move into some other place. Is there a segment of the market that you think after this pause, whether it's 60 days or 30, 60 days, that is poised for some movement, whether it's on the higher end sector where people are like, I'm an all cash buyer, I'm getting a good discount because I got the valuations coming down, or maybe on the lower income sector where, multifamily housing or duplexes, you might see a little bit more movement. Is there anything around that you can share? I know it's early, but I just wanted to see if you've got some thoughts around it.
It's a great question. So here's what I think. I think first-time home buyers there's a lot of millennials who still haven't entered the market. They've not entered the market because they still have fear that, one, we can't afford it, or two, we're not sure where we are in a lifestyle. There's things going on where they haven't, but these people are now doctors and lawyers, and they have entered the workforce, and they're living at home, and they're making good money, and they're traveling. So the reality is there's a lot of people who have just not done it yet. So that's one. Number two is there's people who will be exiting the housing industry. There's people who will be losing their homes. They will. However, we don't know how many. So I think that there is going to be this teeter-totter of what people think is actually, people think that, the market's going to just go down. No, when the market goes down, another side of the market goes up. And so when we have these young kids who have been wanting to buy but can't, we have to look at what their segment of value would be in the marketplace with 5%, 10% down, and say, okay, well, is that anything under $1 million in the market it's in? Because that tells me the middle 80% of like a bell curve is going to be where the market stays relatively stable, and plus or minuses, right? Because the thing is that all consumers will make their decision based upon the choices they're given. So you have to be very well positioned in the marketplace as a seller. You have to look good, you have to feel good, you have to be good. Like, everything has to look good for what you are. But the reality is that consumer that was buying you a month ago, it'll be the same consumer. It's just gonna be a different person because that person's already bought. The market may go down a little bit, but it's all based on competition. The reality is inventory has been historically low. So we've got low inventory, which means competition factor. Although we might have pricing deflation, we have inventory issues too. So will it balance? Maybe.
Yeah. So Tony, I want to address your question on the sectors of the market that I look at. And I see a few different things. One, on the commercial sector, and we talked about this in the previous episode, that commercial sector that you are involved in providing facilities for is the fulfillment centers and logistics centers, which they're seeing a boom now, and they're going to see an additional boom.
Even more.
And honestly, if people want to invest in something, I'd go into a REIT that invests in those kind of properties, because I'm going to see a boom.
Just so everybody understands, real estate investment trust is what you're
That's right, because most people don't have $500 million hanging around to go build a distribution center, but they can invest in a REIT that will raise $500 million to go build distribution centers.
And the people for people out there who aren't familiar with REITs, there's a company by the name of Prologis, Duke Realty. These are publicly traded real estate investment trusts where you can buy them like any other stock. They throw off a dividend, and they invest, they develop, and they manage a lot of these commercial fulfillment centers.
And the fact is they're going to expand because, one, we have a shortage of inventory to make up for since all the shelves are empty. But two, buying habits have already been changing because of the cyber retail market, the e-tail market. But it's going to be more so because people that were holding out or didn't buy certain things are now forced to, and they're going to be more used to that, and they're going to be
Yeah,
more.
no
It's going to
choice.
become more normal, more normal. So that's one sector. Second sector, business as usual in the baby boomers divesting themselves of large homes they can no longer take care of and don't want to take care of. They have stairs in them and those kind of things, going into smaller places. That's not going to stop because they're still getting older and they're still going to have the issues where they want a single story, smaller home. And then the millennials that are the largest, most educated, and most tech savvy generation ever in history in this country, who are growing up, as Brian said, and they're getting married, having babies. They are buying homes. Now, the third sector I'm going to look at is we have been seeing a big push um, because of the how would you say, the thought leaders of urban planning, who want to push people out of single family homes and into urban living because of issues related to climate change and land preservation and those type of things. This issue right now, this virus, is something that's going to show a lot of people that that is the opposite of what they want to do if there's going to be a major pandemic that comes around.
That's a pretty powerful point, that all the urban planners and most of the major metropolitans have been pushing people to go to the downtown corridor, live, work, play. And as we're talking about social distancing, you're really describing that, hey, look, we might go back.
And 15 people in the elevator is really hard to social distance, okay?
Right.
And so I look at that. Also, I'm looking at, tied to that, I got 2 adults in a house that now have to work remotely, and they have 1 workstation in the place.
Right.
And their kids, their 2 kids or 3 kids, have to do school remotely in different settings. And there's not enough workspace for everybody not to be on top of each other and over talking each other's conversations and all that type of stuff. And they're going to be looking for more space. And even though the trend was going down, and also there's just the cabin fever issue, is I just got to have space. I mean, I love my family, but I need space, right? I need my own workspace. And you're going to see some of that too. Now, personally, I'm excited because my company provides the approved land for just these type of homes in the more affordable markets. I'm honestly, I look at this because we're long-term projects. We're going to be sitting at just the right time as the boom hits on the other side of this deal. And that pent up demand for housing is going to hit about the time our projects are ready to go to market. So I'm kind of excited about the whole deal. I'm a little sad that it has to come on the heels of such a sad situation with people getting sick. That's the reality. But the timing, we didn't plan it this way. The timing is going to work out where our investors, and we're going to do pretty well on this deal. So that's the segments of the market I see. They're going to do extremely well.
And I know we're going to wrap up, and I want to make sure that although people are hearing this and they're hearing a lot of enthusiasm because we're covering different parts of the market. We're talking about residential land that you entitle, Steve, and then in my space in commercial real estate. That doesn't imply that we're insensitive to this impact of what's going on right now. We just want to share with people that there are opportunities that we see in the short term, in the medium term, in the long term, as it relates to investment opportunities that can really benefit all of you who are listening to us and your families.
Every cloud has the silver lining. And again, it's sad that this is the situation, because I feel deeply, and I sympathize and empathize with those people who have friends or loved ones who are sick, the healthcare workers who are so highly exposed right now trying to help other people. I feel for them, and I appreciate and admire what they're doing out there, which is a lot of why we're staying where we are, to help prevent the spread and not and try to help not use up the resources that they need, like the mask and the gloves and those kind of protective gears, those things. By staying in place, we don't need those. But I do want to say this. When the market hit, this is more like 2001 than 2008 as far as I can see. 2001 was a temporary situation caused by a terrorist attack. And the entire tourism and hospitality industry came to a screeching halt for about 4 to 6 weeks. It died. And there was a downturn. 57 days later, the stock market had recovered every dollar it had lost in that drop. So the people are saying 10 months to a year. It may be quicker. That means by Thanksgiving of that year, the market had recovered fully. The other thing to remember is the market drop that we have seen has brought the stock market down to the levels it was in 2016. In 2016, nobody was panicking and selling. Remember, logic says buy low, sell high. Emotions say sell when it's low because everybody's losing money. And so don't listen to the emotions. Listen to the logic, take your time, understand markets do recover. And everything that's happening right now is a temporary situation, and it will absolutely change. The unemployment number, we went into this with record low unemployment, record high booming economy. We went into this with the lowest of inventory of housing that we had ever seen, where 6 months is considered normal. We had less than 45 days inventory in most of California. That's the thing. So that's going to offset some of the drop in demand. We will have people that thought they had money to buy a home and lost some money as it shrunk, and that's going to delay their entry into the market. But I don't see this as the catastrophe. It's not time to run around like Chicken Little and say the sky is falling. It's time to sit back and analyze, and like we said in our last show, look at the actual information, the sources of actual information, avoid the hyperbole, and remain rational and make decisions in the long term, not knee-jerk short term.
And I think that's the main reason why we've been doing this show, right? We want to educate people on what those opportunities are. When you come to the Real Men of Real Estate, we're giving you an honest perspective from our different parts of the market on how you can educate yourself, see these opportunities, and whether it's the euphoria that we saw a couple months ago about the stock market and record low unemployment, or in the midst of COVID-19 and coronavirus and being quarantined for a time, we still see opportunities. And we encourage people to continue to watch this show here on YouTube or on Facebook Live. We have a website out there, realmenofrealestate.com. It's another way to keep people informed on what's going on and see those opportunities. Brian, are there any final thoughts that you wanted to share?
You know, the one thing I want to share is that when it comes to this stuff, what I found is that so many people, they buy a house, they do real estate, and they treat something that normally was like a 30-year investment, like a short-term capital gain loss mechanism. And they get very judgmental upon themselves, how well they do, how well they don't do, and what the market's doing based on something was never intended to be this short-term conclusion, buy, sell. And so we're treating real estate like stock. And so if you're going to treat real estate like stock, you have to be understanding of the fact that you will be on the same ride that stocks do. But people buy houses on 30-year mortgages and still look to trade them in 5 to 7 years and don't expect that may come with some volatility. And they're not prepared for the volatility, so they get very anxious and they have a lot of worry and concern about it. When if you're just going to be prepared for the volatility, get involved in the process, buy and sell as you need to, realize that these things do correct as we go on, and listen to people like us who say, look, this is very temporary. Like right here, right now is very temporary. Don't look at this in a temporary situation and look forward 30 years and say, shoot, I lost all that money. If you're going to try and trade short term, don't live long term. If you're going to try and live long term, don't try and trade short term.
Yes, we don't want to use a long term solution for a short term problem. As Warren Buffett is a mechanism for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. We live in a culture and a society that is used to on-demand movies, overnight delivery of the goods we want, microwaved meals, and to go, instant delivery. So we've trained ourselves for instant gratification, but when it comes to good, sound financial decision making, patience is a very important character in that. And so be patient, do your research, think through it, don't do knee-jerk rash decisions, and you'll come out just fine on this. And remember, this too will pass. Every point in history has been a temporary point in history. It always moves on and everything changes. I want to wrap this one up because we're running a little out of time. I want to thank Tunde and Brian for weighing in today. Hopefully you at home stay encouraged, stay positive, and stay nice to your neighbors. And we'll check in with you next time. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, check us out on Roku, hit the bell for notifications of new episodes, and stay well. We'll see you next time.